Great. So today we're going to be talking about essays. And this is one of those topics that tends to strike fear in the hearts of some students. You get through to this point in junior year, and there's still things that you need to be doing, and that essay seems to loom really high on the horizon. So we're going to just talk about that. We're going to get rid of the misinformation. We're going to deal with some of the fear that you might have or some of your reluctance about writing it. So we're actually going to do in two parts. So the first part is today. We're going to talk about what the purpose is and the role of the essay. And then the second half of today is going to be the process that I'm going to take you through when we work on essays together. And then part two is going to be next month in May. And that is going to be more about how you actually do the writing part of it and how we bring you to the end of the process. So today's kind of part one. May we'll be doing part two. All right, so let's first talk a little bit about what the essay is, right? The college application essays, all of them, are a way for you to tell colleges who you are beyond the application. And then you might think to yourself, hang on, beyond the application, what does that mean? So what I want to do first is look at the application itself so that you understand what colleges are going to see, and then you understand how the essay kind of fits into that. So we're going to use the common application as an example. Unmute. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. So here's the common application. In the common application, you are going to be asked to fill in a bunch of information. First of all, you have profile, which is everything about you, where you went to school, where you were born, where you're from, what your address is, how to get in touch with you, those kinds of things. Then they're going to ask you about your family. So that is mom, dad, do they live together? Do you live with them? Are they married? Where did they go to school? Did they graduate from college? If so, what degree did they have? What do they do for a living? Do you have any siblings? So they want to get a picture of where you're coming from. Then they're also going to be doing, let's go back and just finish that one. They're also going to be talking to you about what your education is, where you went to high school, what classes that you took. Then they're also probably going to ask about testing, although most colleges aren't going to use testing in the application. If you want to give your testing information, this is where you would do it. Then they're going to ask you for a list of your activities and to describe them, tell them how long you did them and where it fits into your high school career. And then finally, that little piece at the bottom that says writing, that's the essay. So not every application will have an essay associated with it. If the colleges on your list are part of the Common App, they will ask for this writing at the bottom. It's also called a primary essay. Sometimes it's called a personal statement. But in addition to this, there's a couple of other pieces to the application. So let's look at that. We've talked in earlier sessions about recommendations. So along with all the information that you put into the application, you're going to be asking teachers and a counselor to write recommendations for you. The counselor will do it just as a matter of course, that's their job. Also, the counselor will send a school profile. A school profile is information on the kinds of students that go to your school, how many students there are, the types of classes that are offered. So how many AP classes are offered, how many students are on free lunch, what's the economic makeup, what's the cultural makeup of your high school. So they get a sense of where you're coming from. And then your transcript, right? They're going to want to know what classes that you took and what grades you got. That's your academic record. So in a nutshell, the application itself has 4 pieces, right? The first piece is your courses and everything that you did while you were inside the school building. Second piece is who you are in your environment. How do you fit into your community? How old are you? What kind of parents do you have? That sort of thing. And then the third piece is what are the opinion of people that you've asked to weigh into the process, all the recommenders. But there's a big piece missing, right? It's your It's your voice that's missing. So they get a fact about you and then they get opinions about you, but what's missing is your piece. And so the essay really fills in this gap. And without the essay, um, really you're leaving it up to chance as to what they know about you. They'll pull the pieces together, but the essay is your chance to tell them your story. And they can't meet everybody, right? They don't get interviews with every single candidate. Like the UCLA had over 125,000 applications. There's no way for them to actually individually meet each candidate. So the essay essentially is their chance to say, tell me a little bit about yourself. So imagine that the essay is your response to this question. And imagine you've got, 5 minutes max. They don't get to meet you. This is their opportunity. What are you going to say to them? What do you most want them to know about you? And really, this is the purpose of the essay. And I like to say that if you were to have dropped your essay, on the ground on the way into class, and someone were to pick it up and read it, that by reading your essay without your name on it, they would know who it comes from based on the voice and the story and what's written in it. So I have 5 steps that I take students through, and we're going to really go through 3 of them in depth today. So the very first one is to find your voice. And this is critical to begin the process because your essay needs to sound like you. When someone says to you, tell me a little bit about yourself, you're not going to probably use fancy language when you answer that question. You're going to use pretty basic terms that you would normally use in conversation. Well, guess what? The essay should have that same voice. And then the second part of it is understanding the prompt. So we're going to spend a little time on that today. Really understanding the prompt is key because we want to know what is the prompt really asking for and how are you going to answer it, because you really do need to answer the question that's posed in the prompt. Then after that, we're going to brainstorm. This is probably where we'll spend the most amount of time, especially together. And this is where you come up with, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? How do I want to answer the prompt? And then we're going to do something I call create content. You might think, well, am I not going to write something? Yeah, you are. But we're going to write it in a way that allows you to have some freedom about putting together the story. You're not just going to write an essay or write a draft like you're in a school assignment. I'm going to have you do some exercises before you really craft the essay itself to create some content. So you have some building blocks to work with. And it might not make sense to you now, but I promise you it will. And then the last step of the process is to refine it, because we want to spend a little bit of time to make sure that it's polished, that you don't have grammatical errors, that there aren't misspellings in it, that it makes sense, that it reads front to back correctly, that it answers the prompt. And so we want to make sure that we're going to do some work to ensure that it looks, it's your best work. I guess that's the best way of saying it. That really doesn't take the longest time. Like I said, brainstorming really is the one where we'll spend a good amount of time. Students tend to think that the writing part is the hardest part. But in my experience, the writing is easy once you understand the prompt and you've brainstormed and found a good topic to write about. And then everything kind of just comes together. So today, like I said, we're going to go through steps 1, 2, and 3. We're going to start with find your voice. So right now we're going to do that exercise. And if you're watching this recording, I want you to do it along with us. So the exercise is the following. It'll take us about 5 minutes to do. And what I want you to do right now is either get out a sheet of paper or open up a document on your phone or on your computer. And when I tell you to start, this is a timed exercise. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes and I want you to answer the question I'm going to put on the screen. I don't want you to worry about how you write it. It can be bullet points, it could be run-on sentences, it can be a list if you want, but I want you to capture details, and I want you to write fast. I want you to write without judgment. I don't even want you to read as you're writing it. So here is what I want you to answer. I want you to write, starting in just a second, everything you can remember about what you did this morning from the time that you woke up, even if it was 2 minutes ago, up until the time that we started today. So I'm going to set my timer, and I'm going to have you guys start right now. Okay, so get started on writing. And I'm just going to talk to you while you do it a little bit. And I want you to write details. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? What did you smell? And what did you taste? And I'll let you know when to stop. Don't stop writing until I tell you to. Okay, you can stop writing. And now I want you to look back at what you've written. And the reason that we do this exercise is your writing voice is unique, and just like the way you speak is unique. And it often will come through very clearly when you're relaxed and you're not sort of second guessing your writing, and you're just able to write freely. So I want you to look back at what you've written about your morning, and I want you to look for things that are very you, whether it's something that you always say, a phrase that you use, something that you always think, something that truly sounds like you. It can be a phrase or a whole multi-sentence description, but it could be something that just jumps out at you as, oh, yeah, that's totally me. And I just want you to highlight it or underline it or circle it, mark it somehow. These are the examples of what your voice sounds like. And when you start to write your essay, this is a great reference point. Come back to this and say, does my essay have some of these hallmarks? Some students are super sarcastic. Some are humorous, right? Some students use certain vocabulary all the time. So that's what your essay should sound like. Remember, you're trying to introduce yourself to someone who hasn't met you before. So you want to be authentic and real in your writing, just as you would if you were to meet them in person. And so I want you to keep that in mind as you work on your essays. All right, and we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2 is understanding the prompt. And what I find is often students go straight to the prompt choices when they're trying to figure out their essay. So my suggestion to you is that you don't look at the prompt choices until you've decided what you're going to write about, because sometimes the choices themselves can constrict you. And I would rather that you come up with an authentic idea on your own before you go look at those choices. And believe me, any idea that you come up with will fit into one of the categories that the Common Application gives us, or any other application. So oftentimes I find students go to this step first, but what I want you to look at is the way that the application folks introduce the prompt choices, because students always ask me, well, what is it that colleges want me to write about? Well, they tell you straight up. So let's look at it. This is how the Common Application, the introduction is for the Common Applications prompt. So it says, among other things, look at that sentence in the middle. What do you want the readers of your application to know about you, apart from courses, grades, and test scores? So remember, we don't want to tell them about things they already know about. On the application, there are already a bunch of things that we just looked at. So this is, what do you want them to know outside of that? So what do you think the most common answer is when I talk to students about what is it that you want readers to know? Well, about 90% of the time it's, yeah, I don't have a clue. I don't have any idea. And I totally get it. And it makes perfect sense, because this is not an exercise that you're used to. You are not used to talking about yourself, and you probably don't know exactly what you want to tell colleges about you. So this is why this is a step where we'll spend a lot of time. The rest of this will be a whole lot easier if we do the work at this point. So first, let's talk about just a quick little review. What do they already know about you? So they already know how you did in high school, what classes you took, what your teachers think about you and what your counselor thinks about you, where you go to school, where you live, and what activities you chose. Okay, so what don't they know? Because this is sort of where we're going to focus our efforts. What they don't know is who you are, or what's important to you, or the impact you've had in your community, on your in your Girl Scout group, on your team, the challenges that you faced, the things that have happened to you in your life and how you responded to them. They don't know what you're capable of. They know your grades, but they don't know if that encompasses all of who you are. And they have no idea what drives you. So you could make an even longer list of what they don't know about you. The key is those things on the left-hand side of the screen, don't waste your precious essay space telling them things they already know from other places in your application, because that's the essay space is valuable real estate, and you want to use every inch of that to tell them what's important, what's special, what they don't already know about you, because otherwise they'll fill in the gaps on their own. All right, so how do you figure out what you're going to write about? Well, that's a great question. And so we'll spend a lot of time on brainstorming. And you may already have an idea about what you want to write about. Awesome. We're going to talk about it when we meet one-on-one. I have a whole list of exercises that I'm going to take you through to find out what it is that you want colleges to know about you. But I'm going to ask you to be patient, because this step often takes the longest. And if you spend a good amount of time here, you will find that you have a wealth of possible topics to choose from. And it might be that you end up writing a number of essays and have to pull from that. So Rest in this space, spend some time here, give yourself permission to use this particular time and these exercises to really engage and develop some ideas for yourself. So we're going to look at one of the exercises. The first one I'm going to have you do. It's actually going to be your homework. We're not doing it right now, but I do kind of want to walk you through it. And it's called the objects exercise. So it's already in your files under a folder called, I know, it's revolutionary, essay exercises. And so this particular one is, you're going to open a document or a journal or a notebook or whatever is going to work best for you. And you're going to make a list of 20 objects. These are physical, tangible things you can hold in your hand that are meaningful to you, that represent something. They might be meaningful on their own, or they might represent a relationship or something of some event that happened to you. But these are the kinds of things, like if you had a box under your bed and you put everything in there that meant something to you, like we'd open the box and the list of objects would be there. It would also be, for those of you who've been in the fires, this would be the kind of thing, like all the stuff you put into your your car when you pack to evacuate. That's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. So I did this exercise, and my list is on the document that I'm going to share with you, but I'll give you an idea what I'm talking about. So some of you know I'm a super organized person, right? Hang on, let me grab my stuff. So one of the things on my list is this notebook. And well, it's not a notebook, it's a what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I've lost my mind. An easel, right? It's just a notepad. It's a little clip with scratch paper. I have one of these in my car. I have one in almost every single room. And why? Well, it's because I'm a list maker. So for me, my organization is shown by the fact that I have these in every corner of my house, and I create lists constantly all the time. Another thing, like organizational, that's my favorite kind of thing, is my label maker. So if you were in my office here today, you'd see all kinds of stuff with labels on them. So that's one of my objects. And then I have two boys, and one of them did a lot of clay work when he was a kid. And so this is this little dish that he made for me. It's a little turtle. I love the little tail on the end. It's so cute. And it's got his name on it, which you probably can't see in the camera. But I keep this on my bathroom vanity, and it reminds me of my boys. So they're super close to me. And then another thing that I have on my object list is this charm bracelet. And it's got charms on it from all the different important events that happened in my life. So that's just a sampling, but I gave you my whole list of 20 objects, so you have a sense of what they are. And I just want to encourage you to spend some time with that particular exercise. You're going to be uploading your object list to me. And the next time that we talk, we'll go over it, we'll review it together. And that'll be, you're thinking, well, what are we going to use that for? Well, that will help you identify the things that are really important to you. And then we can use that as a springboard to talk about what a potential topic might be. Okay, something else I want to mention. As you're doing your brainstorming exercises, some of you are big computer users, or you're going to do this on your phone or your tablet, or you're going to do it on your computer. So if you are a person who likes to do journaling in an actual paper journal, I have an option for you. And I have this whole stack of journals here. If you would like a paper journal, because you are a paper and pencil or paper and pen kind of person, I'm happy to send you one. I have some really cool ones or glitter ones. There's all kinds of different options. I will send you a photograph, you pick yours, and I'll mail it to you so that you have something fun to use as we do these brainstorming exercises. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself, okay, this is fine and all good, but what about the prompts? Like, shouldn't we be looking at one of those right now and choosing which one we're going to use? And again, I'm going to say patience. That's not the most critical piece of this. And it's really important first to kind of do that foundational work of identifying kind of the important topics before we go look at the prompts. So the next time that we get together, we're going to talk about the creating content piece and then the refining step. But what I did want to do is talk about, before we go, this the different kinds of essays, because the one I mentioned today is the Common App, and I call it the Common App Personal Essay. You'll see my abbreviation CAPE in all the communication that we do, because it's really boring to just continue to have to type out Common App Personal Essay. So I'll be using that as an abbreviation, but there are other kinds of essays. So let's just talk about a couple of them. So the Common Application is used by about 700 different universities and colleges, and it's got one essay that all of those colleges will look at. It is a maximum of 650 words. You can do fewer, absolutely. And you choose one prompt from 7 choices, and we'll look at those. We also call it just the personal essay. Sometimes it's called the personal statement. The coalition application is similar to the Common App. It's not used by as many schools as the Common Application, and it also has one essay. It's a little bit fewer words, and the prompts are different. You may have a coalition school, but most of you are going to have Common Application schools. So that's where we'll start. If you're applying to the University of California system, they have 4 essays. They are thankfully much shorter. They're each 350 words each max. Oftentimes can be much shorter than that. You choose 4 prompts out of 8 total choices. And those are actually have a special name. They're called personal insight questions, or PIQs. So if your counselor or I use that term, now you'll know what that is. They actually are a much more straightforward writing than the Common App essay. And if you end up writing those essays, we'll talk about how to shift gears into a different sort of format for those. Then as you build your college list and you add it to the application, you're going to find after August 1st that many colleges had decided that that one essay isn't enough, that they really want to get to know you a whole lot more. And they will add what we call supplemental essays, or college specific essays. So it might be that Chapman puts up 2 or 3 essays that they want students to do, and only Chapman will see those. And you will only find those out once we open up the application after the 1st of August, and all the colleges have updated their supplemental essay requirements and prompts. So we know for sure if you've got a UC on your list and you've got a school, at least one that has the Common Application, you will be doing 5 essays. You will probably end up doing more than that. Fear not, though, because a lot of times the topics can overlap between different schools. So we'll try to have you write as few essays as need be, because we definitely want to maximize the number of things that overlap with one another. So your essays are really going to depend on what your list is. Okay, perfect. We've been here a half an hour. That's usually the length of time I shoot for. But I do want to give you an option to ask some questions. So if you've got something burning on your mind about the essay, now is the time to unmute yourself and throw me a question. Anything that's not clear?
Yeah, when do your kids usually start writing their essays, like over the summer?
So usually we start like the beginning of the summer, because you're finished with your AP exams and you're finished with school and you're kind of ready and fresh. I'm going to suggest that we start the brainstorming process for the Common App personal essay now, if you're ready and you want to, because we can lay that groundwork and it kind of lets us roll up to it. My goal is for you to be done with that personal essay by the end of the summer. So it's really up to you, like what your schedule allows. It doesn't take very long. If we start in earnest after having picked a topic, it doesn't take my students more than, say, 2 weeks to get to a final version. So you can kind of plan out when you might want to do that. The supplementals, we can't really start working on them until the 1st of August, because we really don't know what they are. We will know some general topics, so we can start thinking about them. And we can maybe brainstorm on those topics if you've got the other topic already figured out. So it's really kind of up to you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Questions? I did have one question somebody else gave me, which is, what are the best topics to write about and which prompt is the best prompt to use? And I do have a chart that I can show you later about the breakout of the the prompts that students choose. The Common App actually removed a prompt and replaced it with a new one this year because very few students were actually using it. They replaced it with one that is about gratitude, which I think will be kind of a fun one maybe to write about. But there is no topic that the colleges like to see more than another. The key thing is just write about yourself. Students, the biggest mistake I see is that students end up writing something about an event that happened to them, as opposed to writing about what happened to the student as a result of this event happening. So a lesson learned or something that changed in you because of this event. So that's probably the biggest thing I see. Okay, I don't want to hold you anymore. It's a beautiful day outside. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. The assignment for the objects exercise is in your folder. I expect to see you have done it this week or next week by the time that I meet with you the next time. If you have questions about this, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.